Difference between ratios and rates. Ratios have ratios have two of the same units. Rates, which is what we're talking about today, have two different units, like miles per hour. And most often, rates are simplified to a per unit. So miles per hour is a great example. When they say 50 miles per hour, what that really means is 50 miles per 1 hour. Okay, you might figure out how much something costs per one thing. So you could say $12 per one t-shirt. But normally they don't write that one. Okay, so they'll say 50 miles per hour, $12 per t-shirt. Okay, so that's what per unit means, is per one unit. Okay. So we're going to find some unit rates. Unit rates is finding the rate per unit. Pretty self-explanatory. So this is unit rate. So these are both unit rates. And we're going to be finding some unit rates. So let me give you an example. All right, so if they tell me that I can get 3 melons for $1.59. Okay, so that's a rate. I can get 3 melons for $1.59. $1.59 for 3. I want to know how much it would cost for 1. Okay, the unit rate would be cost per melon, per 1 melon. So instead of 3 melons, I want just 1 melon. Okay. Now we can use our cross products like we were doing before to figure this out. But as you see, we end up just dividing the two numbers that were being divided over there anyway, because a number over 1 is just that number. Right? $1.59 divided by 3 is really just equaling our x, because x over 1 is just x. So I'm okay with you just going ahead and dividing that out. Okay? So the unit rate for these melons would be $1.59 divided by 3 would equal 53 cents per melon. This part of your unit is important because 53 cents is not saying everything. It's 53 cents per melon. So you need to write this all out. That's your entire correct answer. Okay? So that's all you have to do. Now, the reason you might want to do your proportion is if you weren't sure what to divide by what. Some people get confused and they'll divide the 3 by the $1.59 and mix it up. So that's where it can come in handy to realize I'm looking for 1 melon. So the 3 melon needs to go on the bottom. And the money is going on top because that's money. Money, money, melon, melon. Okay? So that's why jotting down the proportion can help you figure out what's being divided by what. Because remember, the numerator is divided by the denominator. So let's look at another one. Okay, you can buy 6 cans of water. I don't really know why they're cans, but 6 cans of water for $5. Okay, so go ahead and figure out the unit rate for this one. All right, so if you figured out the unit rate, you hopefully did the $5 divided by 6. If you weren't sure, remember you're looking how much it is for 1 can. So the cans are on the bottom, the money is on the top. Okay, so that's 5/6. I would go ahead and use your calculator to figure that out because it's not the easiest calculation to make. So if you do your 5 divided by your 6, you'd get a repeating number, so you would roughly round it off to 0.83 cents per can. Don't forget that per can, that part's important. So both the last ones we've done have been with money. So not only can you call these unit rate, but a lot of times you'll see these called unit cost. The same thing as unit rate, it just obviously has to do with money. Okay, so those terms are kind of interchangeable as far as when it's dealing with money, you could call it a unit cost. All right, let's look at another one. So you have a dozen eggs for $1.08. So we want the unit cost. Go ahead and pause it and figure out the unit cost. All right, so to figure out the unit cost, you would have done $1.08 divided by a dozen. If you weren't sure, remember you could have written the proportion, and that would have helped you figure out that the money goes on top, the number goes on the bottom, because we want to know for one egg and the money on top. And that means it is about 9 cents per egg. Don't forget to write down the per egg. All right, so let me show you a word problem where this might actually come in handy and why people actually do this, okay? So, often, you can go to the grocery store, and they actually have unit prices at the grocery store on this, okay? So, for example, you might have one box of cereal is $5, and it is a 12-ounce box, okay? Let's say these are Honey Nut Cheerios. Then there's a bigger box that's 20 ounces, to get more Cheerios, but it costs more. It costs $6.75, okay? So you're not sure which one to get, because this one costs more, but you're getting more, okay? So how do you know which one is the better buy of what you need? You love Honey Nut Cheerios. You know you're going to eat the Honey Nut Cheerios, so which one am I going to buy? So what you need to do is find the unit cost for each one, okay? So remember, what you want to do is divide the money by the amount, okay? Remember, you can always set it up $5 for 12 ounces. We're looking for per ounce, right? Amounts per ounce. So I'm going to do 5 divided by 12. And I get about 0.42 cents per ounce. So that one goes up here. So this is about 42 cents per ounce of Cheerios, okay? Then the other one is $6.75 for 20 ounces. 75 for 20 ounces. And that comes down to 0.34 if I round it per ounce. So even though the larger one is more expensive, I get more, and in the long run, if I'm going to eat all my Cheerios, that's really a better deal, okay? So this happens a lot in grocery stores. In Publix, you'll notice that it actually says the unit cost above the price. You can actually look for that. And it helps people when they're shopping compare things, because if it's something you know you're going to consume, and then eventually you're going to buy more of it, and buy more of it, and buy more of it, like shampoo, right? You always need more shampoo or something like that. It makes sense to buy the cheaper per ounce, right? Because each ounce is the same. My Cheerios are my Cheerios. So that makes sense. Now, if we're talking about something like cheese, though, does it necessarily make sense to buy a 15-pound block of cheese just because it's cheaper per ounce? Not necessarily. 15 pounds is a lot of cheese. Probably not going to eat 15 pounds before it goes bad. Okay, so it's something you want to keep in mind, that it works for certain things but not others. Okay, but when it does work, it's good to be able to compare the two. All right, so let me give you an example that you can try to figure out on your own. All right, so let's say we have some yogurts. We have a little individual cup of yogurt. The cups cost, we'll say $1.25. And you get, let's say, 12 ounces of yogurt, okay? And then a big tub of yogurt costs, we'll say, $9.50, but that is, it would be more than 60 ounces, sorry. We'll say it's 100 ounces of yogurt, Okay, totally making these numbers up. They might be totally wrong. So go ahead and figure out which is the better buy per ounce. Should I buy the individual little cups or a big tub? Go ahead and pause it and figure it out. All right, so again, you would divide. So basically, we're dividing the money by the number of ounces. So we're doing this. Grab my calculator. $1.25 divided by 12 is about 10 cents per ounce. And then the second one, $9.50 divided by 100, which should be easy because if it's 100, what do you do when you divide by 100? You just slide it over twice. So that's about 0.095 per ounce. Now, something that's coming up here. Be really careful, because if you always round to the nearest penny, like this one, if we had rounded, we would have rounded up to 10 cents. Okay? But are these two equal, really? No, that one's a little bit cheaper, because when I divided the $1.25, the first one, by 12, I got 0.104. So that was a little over 10 cents. This is a little under. So I got to be careful with your rounding. Don't round so much that you can't tell that they actually are different, because the bigger tub is a slightly better deal. Obviously, it's not much of a better deal, but it is a little bit of a better deal in the long run, okay? So if you were just going to eat your yogurt, then I would get that, okay? Now, obviously, if you need individual cups of yogurt, like you were taking it to school or something, you would need to buy the individual cups. But if you're just going to eat it at home, better deal. All right, so that's how you can use unit rate and unit cost to figure out which is a better buy.